How to overcome spiritual depression. Do you feel like Neo in the Matrix after he takes the red pill and he sees this terrible truth and he's like, what did I get myself into? And he knows there's no going back and he has to live the rest of his life with this burden. Well, if you feel like that, I can relate. I know what that feels like, and it feels terrible. It can really cause some very, very real depression. To someone who's not going through a spiritual awakening, this sounds maybe a little bit crazy. But if you actually are doing this consciousness work, doing the contemplation, exploring the nature of reality, the nature of yourself, you'll start to see some really strange things. And some of those things can feel very, very scary. So I'm going to make a bold claim here and say that all spiritual depression is actually caused by lack of understanding. Now you might be thinking, no, David, I understand perfectly clear. That's exactly why I'm depressed, because I see the truth. But what I'm saying is that there's different levels of awareness, and that you're at sort of the stage where you see what you see is valid and true, but you're missing the complete picture. And it's the completion of that picture that makes that picture beautiful instead of depressing. So I'm going to go over the 4 main causes of spiritual depression, and we're going to reframe those. We're going to complete the picture. And this isn't some sort of way of deluding yourself into tricking yourself into thinking that it's not depressing when it actually is. This is actually completing the picture, and you're going to be able to have a more true outlook on yourself, a more true outlook on reality that's going to feel a heck of a lot better. So the first cause of spiritual depression is understanding the ego. So this one can hit hard. When you start to wake up, when you start to realize firsthand that you have been trapped inside your ego. Your ego has been pulling the strings, manipulating you. It's been calling all the shots. And the worst part is, you made it up. The ego doesn't actually exist in 3D reality. So this can be a terrifying realization to come to. And it can feel like your entire life is a lie. And I went through this stage. I know what it's like. So if you're going through this now, just know that it gets a lot better. I promise you. So again, this is only one part of the picture. If you look at the other side of the picture, you'll see that now that you're waking up to this truth, now that you're realizing that you were stuck in the matrix or in your ego, that means you can become free now. That means you're going to experience levels of freedom and bliss and joy and love that you didn't even know were possible. But you have to keep going down this path. And there's a big, big trap. I fell into this trap for a while, and it looks like this. Your ego starts freaking out and you become depressed because you realize this truth, and your ego's like, see, I told you not to look behind the curtain. I told you not to question yourself. I told you not to question reality, because now you have to deal with the consequences and you have to live with this burden of the terrible truth of reality. And that's what it feels like. But this is a trap. This is, again, your ego being really tricky, playing a trick on you to stop you from doing more of this work. Because when you actually do more of this work, when you lean into that pain, when you lean into that depression and see what's behind it, there's nothing but love. And this is dangerous to your ego, because your ego is predicated on separation. And when you realize that everything is love and everything is one, then your ego doesn't serve much of a purpose. So make sure that you watch out for that trap. So the other side of this is when you start to become aware that you've been living your life driven by your ego, then you start to realize that this life that you've been creating isn't in alignment with who you are. And it really feels like you've been living a lie for your entire life, that everything you've been doing has just been serving yourself. And oftentimes that's the case. So, and this can be a very, very painful realization to come to. So, what is the second cause of spiritual depression? It is living a life that is not in alignment with your authentic self. And your authentic self is different than your ego. So, there's not really any quick way to just end the pain here. To just tell yourself, it's cool, like, I'll just keep living this life, like, whatever. I'm just a human, I don't know any better. The thing is, now you do know better. Now you're waking up to the truth. You're waking up to all the different possibilities for your life. You're discovering your authentic self. So what I'm going to tell you here is that this pain is here for a reason. If you're going through this process of seeing your life and realizing all the mistakes you've made, all the ways in which you're living that aren't true to you, this pain is here to help you change. And the only way to heal this pain is to actually create the changes. So don't look at this pain as a bad thing. I don't want you to resist this pain. Usually that's how we ended up in this position in the first place. We really have to lean into this pain. And, I'm going to go much more in depth on this topic in future episodes. We're going to talk about things like self-love, shadow work. That's really going to help integrate these changes into your life. But for now, just know that this pain is here to help you. If you can see the wisdom written on the walls of your suffering, you would realize that it's here because it's a gift to you. So what is the third main cause of spiritual depression? It's a change in your understanding of metaphysics. So this is a change in your understanding of how reality works and what reality actually is. So maybe you've been studying quantum physics or something like that, and you've come to the conclusion that reality is an infinite field of possibilities with all possibilities happening simultaneously. And this is a conclusion that I came to. And this was really hard for me to take in. I remember this shockwave of fear running from my feet all the way up to my head and into my jaw, and I was terrified. And this kind of got me into a funk that it was difficult to get out of, because I felt like everything was pointless. I felt like, why am I even trying anything at all? What's the point of life if all possibilities already exist? What can I possibly do? What can I possibly add to reality? What I'm saying is that the purpose of life is love. Now, again, this isn't something you have to believe me on. This is something you can discover for yourself, or at least I'm claiming. So, a way you can test this out is, what if I live my life completely based on love? What if I dedicated my entire life to loving myself and to spreading love to everyone else in the world? What would life look like then? And what I'm saying is that it's going to feel good. Life feels amazing. It feels good to be alive. Just take it in. Look around you. See the magic. Like, what is this? This pure, magical, beautiful experience that is existence. The point of life is to be alive. It feels amazing. And you can discover this for yourself. Just notice it. It's already here. What is the fourth main cause of spiritual depression? This is loneliness. So when you're going through a spiritual awakening, it's very, very common to feel like, oh my gosh, I understand all these truths, but no one understands me. And a lot of times people just think I'm crazy because they can't see it. But I know I'm not crazy. But no one understands. I know what this feels like. But trust me, there are people who understand. And it's easy to go find them on the internet. And I think that's very valuable. I think, start making new friends. Start reaching out to people, even in the YouTube comments. Reach out to people on Instagram, on Facebook, other social media sites who are experiencing the same kind of things that you are, and talk to them about it. Find someone who you can relate to. Or maybe you don't even need to find someone to relate to. Maybe you can just go talk to a friend who's a good listener, talk to a therapist, talk to a coach, talk to anyone about this. It's really going to help you, because feeling misunderstood and feeling alone is one of the most terrible feelings. And in terms of meeting people in person that actually share these interests, there's ways to do that. Go to a yoga studio, go to a metaphysical shop, check on Meetup. There's a lot of, at least in the Cleveland area, there's a lot of meetup groups who talk about spirituality and metaphysics and all sorts of stuff like that. So it might take some time, but be patient. Your tribe is out there waiting for you, and you're going to feel more welcome than you ever have in your life, because this is coming from your authentic self. So I hope this helps. And if there's any points that I didn't cover and that you're feeling depressed spiritually for some other reason, let me know what that is, and I can address that either in a future video or respond to your comment. I'd be happy to. So that's it. I hope you have a beautiful day. If you enjoyed this video, if you got some value out of this, please give it a like. If you want to follow the journey, if you want to follow me for more valuable content about spirituality, awakening, self-love, shadow work, all sorts of stuff is coming up in the future. So definitely subscribe if you're interested. And you have a beautiful day.